Hello, everybody. This is Jondelyn coming to you today about hair color. I get compliments all the time on the color of my hair, as particularly with this cut. And today I'm going to do some touch ups. Now, first, let me say that I encourage everyone to go to a professional hairstylist or hair colorist to get your hair colored. I'm just sharing with you what I use because I'm used to coloring my hair and I've been doing that for a very long time. So, my situation is that I have lots of grays. So, because of that, and the fact that I'm not ready to rock the salt and pepper hair, nor am I ready to go platinum white. What I do to combat my grays is to color it using the Age Beautiful line. And I use two colors for Age Beautiful. I use the 5R and the 4R for the roots and any kind of blending I need to do. And then the other thing for the platinum blonde portions or streaks, balayage. I learned that from Guy Tang a long time ago. What I use is the bright white from Eon. And what I normally do, because sometimes this can be a little thick, I would include volume 40 developer just to give me a little bit more loosen that texture up in this. And I use the 20 developer for the colors that I mentioned for my roots. So that's to get started. But speaking of getting started, first things first, I'm gonna do what I need to do: change into my husband's clothes. So what I've already started was I put a pre-treatment protectant on the hair that I don't wish to lighten. And I've used the Mazzani Honey Shield to do that because when I am going in with the touches, I just want to highlight just a little bit of my hair or lighten spots that I feel like it's time to be lightened. Then I want to make sure I'm not damaging the hair I've already lightened previously. I also included, just to make this consistency, I also included with the bright white, I included the 40 developer just a little bit um, to give it a softer consistency than what it was. In addition to adding a dab of coconut oil, that big processed coconut oil, I just put a little bit in there for some extra conditioning. So now since I've already put the pre-treatment in, my goal is to color, or I keep saying color, lighten spots that I feel like I can lighten or should lighten in my hair, because over time what I do is I lighten the hair and I darken the roots. So as it's growing out, then I need to continue to lighten what has grown. So that's what I'm doing in this process or this step. So as you can see, I put the lighter in places, the lightener in places that I thought needed either more highlights or needed to be blended in with the rest of the majority of the hair. And for the most part, I left, I want to put that in, I gotta wash that out. Um, I left the roots untouched because that'll be for the next portion of it. Now, again, I can't stress this enough. Go to a professional. Go to a professional colorist and hairstylist to do this. The only reason why I'm comfortable enough to do it myself is because I've been around enough professionals family and all that to feel confident in doing my own hair as it relates to color. Because if the color gets messed up, I can't blame anybody but me. And I'm fine with that. But in the meantime, for those of you, just to give you tips on what I'm using, not necessarily what I'm doing, I recommend a professional. Okay, so now that I have lightened the hair, I washed the lightener out, and I currently have conditioner in it. I'm just going through to make sure that, number one, I still have hair on my head. I'm just messing, but that did I get the color effect that I wanted? And so far, I am pleased with the fact that I have, for the most part. Now, I'm going to, of course, rinse this out, dry it, and move on to the roots. Okay, so now that I have conditioned and dried my hair after I rinsed the conditioner out, of course, this is what I'm left with after the highlighting. So, for the most part, I should give the tip that if you highlight your hair and you see that it's not to your liking, you can go back in and touch it up. Um, what the caveat to that is, I would condition in between time. A good conditioner to use is like Olaplex, so that way your hair is not so dry and brittle when you're going through particularly the coloring process. So that's just a small tip on that. But now that I have the highlight done for the most part to my liking, I'm going in with coloring my roots. So what I use, or what I'm using, is the 5R from Age Beautiful. I'm using that for the roots. That is a medium red um, color, because I don't want, the 4R is a darker red, which is fine, but I just want something a little soft for some reason. So I'm just going in with the 4R, and it is a 1-to-1 ratio um, color. So with that being said, one part of the 4R, one part of the 20 developer. And this is what it is prior to me mixing it. And I'm going to go in, like I said, starting with the sides, because that's where I see, and that's where you will see most of my grays, because my hair is cut low on there. So, of course, the longer the color sits, the longer processing time it has. So, the other thing I should share with you is that I put, or will put, more protective, that honey shield, onto the color, onto the hair that I just lightened, because again, I don't want it to bleed into the work that I just did overall. Now I will do some blending, of course, but I don't want it to mess up what I just did. So let me just put a little more of that. And I feel like we're good to go. So let me get started. Now, as you can tell, I have between a 4B and C hair texture. And with that being said, I really have to make sure that I get in there really well, because my hair is tightly coiled. And I normally start where I wear my hair the most. And what I mean by that is, like lately I've been wearing my hair to this side, so you're going to see these roots before you see the inner part of my head. So I'm starting there with the color before I go in. And particularly the hairline, depending on your type of hair, you know, that might be the last thing you touch. But to me, I'm going in with it first. Because again, the more processing time, the longer it sits, the more processing time it has. And this is the only chemical treatment that I put on my hair as it relates to, I no longer use any relaxers. I only color my hair. So I still have to be mindful of the fact that it is, and although I try to keep it minimum, it could be damaging. So I'm really just sticking to the roots for the most part. I haven't blended yet, which I will. A technique that I learned from Guy Tang years ago after binging so many of his videos on hair color. I mean, he just did such a phenomenal job. Every time I saw is blending is key. So placement and technique is important, and blending is key. So I just take my fingers and blend. So there's no harsh start and finish. You know, it blends together. Just like the concept of makeup when you're putting your, for example, when you're putting your foundation or you're putting your blush or you're putting your eyeshadow, blend. They always say blend until you get carpal tunnel, darling. Same thing with the hair. You want to blend, put it on, and then blend it out. No harsh lines in your coloring. You want it, even though it's, you know, a lot of times we use colors that are not natural hair colors. Um, blue and purple hair and all that, which is phenomenal, but you still want it to look realistic. So blending is key when you finish with the placement and technique. And after I do the outer portions, then of course, I'm going to part my hair and then start with the inner part of my head. You see how this gray? That's what I'm touching up in the middle, just at the roots with the Age Beauty 4R medium red color. And when I go in, I normally do both sides. So I start with this side, adding that, making sure that I blend it and not with just angling the brush, blend it and not just making a straight line, for the most part. Then I do the same up top. And then just trying to make sure that I blend it by angling the brush. And continue until I'm finished. Okay, so as it's shaping up, I've put the color in for the roots. Now, and if you can see what I'm saying in terms of kind of blending, but again, I don't want it to mess up what I already have. So I'm going to rinse this out because it said at the time necessary, read the box for instructions, and we'll see how this came out. Okay, and this is the final result with my hair dyed, fried, and laid to the side. If you can see the dimension still in my color, no gray, no gray. But I got my face on, my hair's done, and I'm starting my day. Have a great one. And if you've survived this long, thank you. Please hit that like button and subscribe.